And welcome on in to the WyoNation Roundup. I am your host, Chad Smith, and tonight I am joined by Shea. Good evening, Shea.
Evening, Chad and WyoNation. Hope everybody's doing well this Thursday evening.
That's right. We are now into the month of August, which means Wyoming football has opened their fall camp, and we are just 30 days away from some Wyoming football as they will take the field at Arizona State to open the season August 31st.
Man, 30 days. That's crazy.
Yeah. The summer always starts out like slow and then it gets super fast.
There you go.
Let's get the lights on here. Forgot to get the lights on the old lamp there for a little lighting. But yes, welcome on into the WyoNation Roundup. Tonight, as you can see, we are going to talk about probably the two most important position groups in football. I think most sane people would agree, is your O-line and your D-line. And I figured just do it in one show. Shea's very knowledgeable on these things. I mean, during a game, he's texting me all kinds of crazy stuff about offensive and defensive linemen, their footwork and all this stuff. He's got a very keen eye. Why I go do something really quick, because I forgot to do something. Just maybe talk to people about what draws you to focus in on these guys when, most people are just watching the ball.
Well, it's always the point of the attack, and footwork is big in hockey, so you always watch the footwork for anybody, especially on the O line and Wyoming's offensive line. Even with all the coaches that they've gone through in the past, I don't know, 7 coaches in the past 10 years, I think, on the offensive line, that they still minus, I think, the 1 year the guy that came from the NFL, but after that it's just been just pretty impressive. And if you see guys jumping and standing too far up in any sport, low man wins, and they always speak about that. So it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch some of these young guys. You're like, uh-oh, we're losing a starter. We're going to see like a Caden Barnett come in, face Air Force in the Easton Gibbs flu game, and go out there and excel and have a big running attack with I think he was a redshirt freshman at the time, and go out there and a very good Air Force team. And same with defensive line. A couple of years ago we had Josiah Hall playing defensive tackle because we had so many injuries, and Kevin Prosser coming in from linebacker, moving down to defensive end. So clearly the rooms have a good culture regardless of who the coaches are. And I know there's a new coach on the defensive line, but the culture is clearly there, and I think that pays off dividends, and the guys want to go in there and work. And we'll talk about the weights coming up, and clearly some guys are ready to see the field this year and have earned it.
That is right. So, no, very good intro there. And so I want to welcome everybody on in. We are here on the chat. So, unfortunately, due to Elon Musk and his shenanigans once again, we are only live here on YouTube. So, Twitter has been shut down for now unless you get a verified account, and that's something Brad and I are thinking about doing. We'll see, to keep the streams on Twitter. But head on over to WyoNation channel on YouTube where you can see this live. And of course, we'll be posting the replay shortly after. And while you're there, as we grow this channel, please subscribe and like the videos and give us your feedback on what you want to see us talk about on these types of shows. I think we kind of try to do a good job of putting together kind of an everyman's view on things. But we've been doing this for a long time, so I think we're fairly educated on this. So we hope to have fun, talk some football, knowing that Wyoming, doesn't have a lot of media presence out there at all, except for, your local radio and your local newspaper. So, as I take a drink there, let's hop on in. We'll start with the offensive line, Shea. And let me just show on stream who is returning. And this is from the newly released media guide.
No.
And the big thing that jumps out at me, and we'll break this down, of course, but look at all the freshman offensive linemen that they have listed there. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, the The Braylon Jenkins was called out specifically by name because I think he put on like 25 pounds in summer camp.
Okay. Wow.
Hopefully that's hopefully that's good weight. And it's funny. You look at this list. You have two legacy guys in here with Jack Walsh and Rathbun. Both their dads played for the university, so it's kind of fun to see those two kids, carry on the legacy of their fathers. So I'm sure they're impressed with that as well. But I don't think we see a true freshman start this year
No.
for the offensive line. So
No, and the reason for that is Wyoming does return 4 of their 5 starters. Of course, Wyoming only loses 1 offensive lineman to graduation, and that was Frank Crum, who last year was an all Mountain West selection. He has since signed with the Denver Broncos and seems to be doing pretty well in their camp, and they just had an injury to a tackle.
yeah,
So I think he's got a good chance to make at least the practice squad. But he had 49 lifetime starts. So Wyoming is looking to replace their left tackle, which on the surface of things, Caden Barnett is going to slide from right tackle to left tackle. And then that leaves the right tackle spot open. According to the media guide, they said Jake Davies and Nate Geiger are the 2 people to keep an eye on for that right tackle spot. Is that what you're thinking too as you look at this list?
yeah. The Geiger's weight's wrong on the media guide, but it is what it is. He is at 295 with Davies. Something to point out is they're clearly high on Davies from last year because he was playing at probably 265 and he got some playing time against Nevada. So obviously, Jay has challenged some people. Hey, if you want to play, you got to put on weight, is evidenced by Chris Sturr, who put on almost 20 pounds. So at wide receiver. So clearly it's transitioning to the offensive line where a lot of these weights are wrong. And my guess, the freshman, you're like, man, look at that freshman. He weighs 290 pounds. And maybe that may not be a very good 290 pounds, which Jay has spoke about in the frequently. Just because somebody weighs that much doesn't mean it's usually good weight. And so those guys are obviously going to work through it. So good for them. But they're labeling these as freshmen, but they don't disseminate between redshirt freshmen and true freshmen. So there's a couple of guys that have redshirted. Yeah, they could maybe see the field this year. So,
yep. Other guys coming back, obviously, is your center and Tulifono as a starter, as well as Wes Keene and Jack Walsh coming back as starters. So a really good group here. And I really like having in the mix Luke Sandy, who's capable of playing center and both guard positions.
like a Chase Roulier.
Yep, as well as Rex Johnson. So there's some good depth in the middle. Not worried there. It's all right, left tackle. Now the question is Barnett, can he make the move? It's a move that a lot of people make, obviously, going from right to left, but it's like playing a completely different position because you have to switch basically all your footwork and all your hand movements are completely different. Do you think I guess I didn't really focus much on spring ball because you can't really see things. What do you think about Barnett and his switch to left tackle?
I think he played actually left tackle a little bit last year when Frank got banged up a little bit, and then they moved Jack out to the right tackle, and then you have
True.
Sandy coming in at that guard. So I would say if it was, hey, the end of the year, now Barnett's going to go into spring practice and he's got to learn this position. But I think the way they double rep, I think they're just forcing their tackles to play both sides. I don't think they let their tackles sit on one side. So,
Yeah, no, and good point about I forgot that Crum got hurt for those games and they moved Walsh to right tackle and then Caden the left. So he does have some experience there. So no, good memory there. I forgot about that.
And I think they're trying to keep Walsh at guard. I don't think they want to move him out to tackle unless they absolutely have to.
Yeah.
So,
but it could be in the long run what they have to do. We'll see. Right. So we'll see here, as we said, Davies and Geiger are on your list. And then another guy to keep an eye on is Alex Kahn, who is a transfer. I forget where he came Did he come straight from Nebraska or did he go JUCO?
No, he went JUCO, like a
Yeah,
Cook in Nebraska, and then over to, and he got hurt in the spring. So
correct.
I think Davies, just by generality, is probably going to get the first look at it if he's healthy. But
Yeah.
you still need like probably 3 to 4 solid tackles, and I think Wyoming's got guys that can play. But that first game in Tucson Tempe
Hmm.
will be their time. So
Yeah. So if you look at the list, there's a lot of guys, and somebody's going to have to step up. Um, they also, I guess, listed on their list, tackle wise for this Quinn Groverstein Matchy is a guy to watch
yeah.
out for as well.
So him and Brant Rice, they're both redshirt freshmen. They're not true freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
Grover Steen was the number 7 overall recruit in Wisconsin, and Brant Rice was the number 5 overall recruit in Wisconsin. So
Yeah. No,
usually those type of states produce really good offensive linemen.
sure. And that's why we go there to get them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not much you can say, right? Because most of the time these guys don't get talked about a lot, but I think we'll have some good coverage of this offensive line battle because it's important. But Wyoming overall is in great shape, having 4 starters coming back. Just having to
And
find.
guys playing time as well. Rex Johnson got playing time last year as
Oh
well.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, Sandy Johnson, they all got rotational minutes, snaps, reps in there. So we'll see what happens. And no, it should be interesting. So right tackle really is one of the key battles of fall camp, and we'll see who takes control of that. So as I guess Brad and I did on the last stream, we get at the end we did a grade. So coming into the season, what's your grade on the Wyoming offensive line?
I'll give him a B plus, just because the right tackle is unknown. If we would have saw more of a Davies instead of a Walsh on the outside, and Alex Kahn wasn't here, so you can't judge him. But one of those younger guys, I'd probably give an A. But these guys create holes, and I think they're holding their hat high on the Outline Trophy winners, saying these guys were the hardest guys to play last year.
Yeah,
So probably a B plus, but the unknown at right tackle keeps me not giving them an A.
sure. And then they have retained the same coach, which also helped because I think last year was his first year was it with the program. So continuity there with the position coach now, which should certainly help.
Yeah, and then you got the kid from Laramie. We're going to see another Frank Crum and Bangura. He was actually recruited by Colorado State as well, so he's up to 295 pounds.
Yeah,
These
big kid.
guys that are there, we'll see.
6'5", 290. Yeah, I mean, right. A lot of us, I mean, at the beginning of Frank Crum's career, were like, what? Right? Because he kind of came on from nowhere. Like he wasn't really particularly a good player in the state of Wyoming, but he developed into one. So, right, being this developmental program, I think it's key. Having this big list of freshmen who are right. Some of these are true, some of these are redshirt, but Wyoming's got a bright future if they can develop some of these guys like they have in the past years.
Yeah, I think it's a good room, and finally some continuity at offensive line coach probably helps the guys out that they're hearing the same voice, and it's not they don't need to hear a different voice. They actually probably need to get some stability in the room.
Yeah, so again, the offensive line should be a strong point of this team, and it could be really strong if they find a right tackle who plugs right in and can play at, not doesn't have to be all Mountain West or anything, but just be a serviceable, dependable right tackle, because the rest of the parts of that offensive line machine are in place, and they just need to step in and not set the place on fire.
Yeah, barely get a hole in the running back room is probably going to any type of hole they're going to be gone. So
All right, we will move to the defensive line. But before we do, we'll let you know who Wyoming did lose in the offseason. One of them is Cole Goodbow, who 43 total tackles last year, 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. So that is some production we lost there, as well as Gavin Meyer, who transferred out via the portal, 26 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss last season. So those are the 2 spots that the Wyoming defensive line is looking to plug. And here is your list of who is on the roster for this fall camp. Coming back, obviously, the highlight is Bertonoli there. 43 career starts. He's a graduate student at this point in time. Same thing with Harris, 43 starts, also in grad school at this point in time. And then you have 2 other solid contributors in Harsh and Siders, who both have some pretty good playing time. So your thoughts on the defensive line?
I think we already know what we have with Harris, Harsh, and Siders. Siders and Harsh put on some weight. There's some big boys on the defensive end. They're both over 250 pounds now, while Harris is down at 235, which is fine. You know, I think what Wyoming's been missing the past couple of years is probably a Prosser type where he's coming off the edge and he can take half the field away because he speed rushes so well.
Yeah.
And so you're taking away half the field from a quarterback because he's running from his life for this guy chasing him down. I think it's pretty good. And you had 2 kids come in last year with Tice Westland and Shigorin, I think is how they pronounce his name, against New Mexico. And they held their own. I don't know what it is about Wyoming and defensive line, but it doesn't matter what coaching staff is here. Wyoming has always produced really good defensive linemen.
Yeah. So. It's very similar to the offensive line. Only have to replace 1 starter, and the leader in the clubhouse to do that appears to be Ben Florentine, who did have 11 tackles in 12 games last season. So he has played. So he'll probably be best in line to earn that spot. He would have had some more competition from Caleb Robinson, but unfortunately, he is out for the season with an injury that was in spring. That's what the press guide says, which I forgot about.
Well, he was in a car accident before last season that messed him up. So unfortunate for Caleb, but I probably think you'll see Jaden Williams start over Ben Florentine.
Okay, and that's possible.
Jaden with a Y. Yeah, Jaden with a Y.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we got 2 Jaden Williams on the defensive line, so I guess one will be Jay Williams and one will be Jaden Williams.
That is an oddity, isn't it?
Yeah.
2 guys with the same name. The only difference is the letter Y in one of them. A big kid there. Actually, he's not even listed on here, which is weird. Media guide says in that interior defensive area to look out for Drake, Samsula, and Crawford.
The Crawford is going to be. It seems like every year Wyoming has somebody on the defensive line. Like, who the hell is this number? And you're looking at your phone. Like Bertonoli during COVID. Like, who the hell is this kid?
Yeah.
Where did he come from? He's really good, And then does Crawford just bring that same Natrona mindset from, because he's from Casper as well. Now, the Samsula kid is really interesting. I did some research on him today. He was recruited by Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. Okay, and he was a middle linebacker and tight end in high school.
Okay.
So he's clearly very athletic. But he's now at 6'4", 295.
Okay, wow. No, that is...
So he's a big boy.
Impressive. And I am actually rereading this. They do mention both of the Williams guys ahead of the 3 I just mentioned. So, yeah. So they're probably in there. Interesting. And yeah, talking about the guy you're just talking about, it's a common thing, right? Is how do you get that athletic ability and speed is, well, you recruit a safety and you make him a linebacker. And then you recruit a linebacker and you make him a defensive lineman. And Wyoming has had great success in doing that. So it sounds like that's the next guy in line.
Yeah, they got a lot of options here. Like, if in a passing down, you could put like a Siders or a Harsh in the defensive tackle position,
Mm-hmm.
and you have all this speed coming at you, even from linebacker blitzes, which Shea was good from the weak side, but in the middle linebacker, he'll probably be even better blitzer. That there's some options here. I didn't like Wyoming on the 3-down set because they never produced any pressure from it, and they never blitzed like Rocky
Yeah.
Longwood. So I hope they go away from that and just use the 4-down line and just let these guys go, because there's clearly talent. And then the Drake kid, what they have him is 261. He's up to 285. So the kids have been that are returning have been putting in work.
Hitting in the weight room, as we said, right? We talked about.
Yeah.
I think you did the media days one with me.
Yep.
Yep. Savell was just talking about all the weight gains that everybody was making, and we're seeing them now, for sure. Another thing I wanted to talk about here is on the outside. You mentioned, so we have our 2 starters coming back, but they mentioned the depth of Westland, who played a fair amount last year, and then the name of this guy is actually Shoegreen. That's how you pronounce
Sugaring.
it.
That's how I say it.
Kevin Shoegreen. Yes, a sophomore at 6'5", 240 defensive end, who they mentioned is probably going to be in the rotation. And they also, I do believe, mentioned Ethan Day as a player to keep an eye on.
He's a community college kid, so I think they probably maybe brought him in for. I know Gavin Meyer's going to be missed. Not only a lot of these guys we have to remember on the field goal. Gavin Meyer was notorious for blocking field goals, so somebody's got to replace that. Replace that as well. But it is impressive with the height and the weight that these guys can move. So, and I know Cole Goodbow was beat up last year, and
big time.
We saw some of these guys when they were freshmen, and you're like, you can see it there, but maybe the moment was probably maybe a little too big for him, and that's maybe why we saw more 3-down sets from Jay, because he was just trying to get the best players on the field. And who knows, maybe you see like a Talich come all the way down from safety to become a defensive end, because they're deep at linebacker, and if stuff happens and they want speed coming off the edge, you may see kids like that come in. So
yeah, to see kind of how they play along the margins of this defense with so many starters coming back. This defensive line, again, like the offensive line, only having to replace one starter, and they seem to have the guys there who can do it. So the defensive line should be a strength. And then, as you said, hopefully if they can, depending on what they do system-wise, if they stick with 4-down linemen, hopefully we can see more sacks this season.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the best defensive game we saw from Wyoming in terms of was when, unfortunately, when Siders, the New Mexico game, Weisland and Shugren were living in the backfield against New Mexico, and that opened up Eckler to come down from the safety spot and just murder the quarterback every time he dropped back. So that type of, if the team is healthy, not only is your defensive lineman going to eat up all 5 blockers, but they're going to have to drop a tight end, and then your safety is going to come flying in, or your middle linebacker. So it all starts with them, and you hope their stats are high, but if their stats are low, somebody else's stats are going to go way up, because I don't know how you stop this defensive line.
Yeah, certainly one of the best in the Mountain West. And I don't know what the turnover is like this year in the Mountain West at offensive line, right? Who they're going to go up against, but yeah, they should do pretty well, I think, because they're an experienced bunch, especially with Bertagnoli and Harris, right, being super seniors.
Bertagnoli's on the Outland watch this year.
Yes,
So
thank you.
Good for him. Yeah.
Yep, that was announced, I do believe, yesterday. So he's on the watch list there. So that tells you about the talent that he has. And yeah, and they have a lot of guys, right? And you never know. Like, just think if like 1 and 2 guys, like these redshirt freshmen or freshmen, like somehow earn playing time. I mean, they're just going to be so deep, and they're going to be able to rotate, keep guys fresh on that defensive line. And yeah, things could be pretty scary for the rest of the conference if that shakes down. So that's the thing to watch is how much additional depth can they build off of the current roster.
Yeah, I mean they're big too, and like hopefully they're carrying the weight well and they're not slow when they get to the backfield. It's worse you see a defensive tackle get back there and the quarterback just barely takes a sidestep and the guy's not, he can't control his weight. And if these guys can control their weight, like Cole Goodbow was a master at it. When he got in the backfield, people were going down. And Gaffon was the same way. When they got back there, nobody escaped him. So, these guys have a lot to. I don't think they're worried about who they're trying to replace, but there's some talent. And I know Cody Tucker had a good story about Jaden Williams without the Y, about his mother passing away and playing for her this year. So I think some guys got some stuff to play for in that room as well.
Yeah, and the defensive line room has a new coach this year as Giles went down to Houston to take that job. And the new defensive line coach, Phelps, right?
Yep.
Who's coming from North Dakota State. So he's very familiar with Wyoming's defensive system, having coached there. And I think he's a quality hire.
Yeah, I'm surprised they when their coach bailed to go be a linebacker coach at USC. I was like, man, that staff would be nice to if we have anybody leave. I didn't want Oscar to leave. Huge Oscar fan.
Yeah.
But he left, and you're like, uh-oh. Because the year before that, we lost our defensive ends coach, and that's when Brian came in. You're like, oh, no. And then you just see that these guys are willing to maybe stay in that tough mentality, and they don't want to play with I don't know. They just kind of like that blue-collar work ethic that Wyoming has brought. So we'll see. And hopefully they don't just leave after one season.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Phelps will probably stick around. Would be my guess, but you never know. Things happen. Especially, I mean, the way things are changing in college football. I mean, from day to day, you don't know what to expect. So, all right, great time. I'll go first on this one.
All right.
I think the defensive line is going to be really good. Man, I don't know if I want to give them an A, but I think a B plus for sure. If they can this year get more of a pass rush, right, cause more turnovers, get sacks, get fumbles, then they can go to an A, maybe even an A plus easy. But I think, again, this is a position group you're not going to have to worry about, much like the offensive line. And then, right, I think Wyoming has a chance to have a very good season with the strength of these units because line of scrimmage, they're going to do well on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. I'll actually give them an A, and it's going to be surprising where I'm going to give them an A from. It's because of the 3 true freshmen at defensive tackle.
Okay.
They were recruited by Baylor, Nebraska, Texas Tech, and Oklahoma State. So if Big 12 schools are noticing defensive linemen, those guys are going to push really hard for the other guys just to make them better. And we already know we have a defensive end, and that's an extremely deep room as well. So
yeah,
I guess kind of what we're going to see. Are we going to be vanilla to start, or is Aaron Bull going to kind of release the hounds a little bit to open the season? And Wyoming's schedule does open up well, where they don't play teams with really strong offensive lines. I don't want these guys to get their heads boosted and their stats boosted, but a boost to say, hey, we can look who we're competing against, as that translates into Mountain West play. It can be huge for these guys, especially Wyoming's extremely young in the middle, but I think that will translate well as the schedule will help both the lines gain a lot of confidence.
Yeah, let's hope that's the case. So, yeah, I mean, these two positions are in pretty good shape. Just one person to replace in the starting lineup on each side of the ball. And Wyoming has a plenty of talent behind them to fill those spots. So we'll just see what happens there. And so fall camp, those are the things to keep your eye on. Right tackle, and then the other defensive tackle spot, and then to see what kind of depth can they get, because depth is key for sure. I see we got people watching us. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. If you have a question, a comment, you can leave it in the chat. We will display your question or comment on screen. Hit like and subscribe and all that good stuff to let everybody else know about the Wyoming Cowboys content we are putting out. And I guess, I don't know, you're not a video game guy.
Oh, I am. I've been.
You are? Okay.
I'm in the college football playoff right now with Wyoming. I just
Okay.
defeated Washington I was the 11th seed, so now we're going up against Oregon. But
All right.
I
And
feel
then,
bad. If Devon Harris ever watches this, I'm sorry. I'm making you look terrible as a pass rusher because I can't figure out the game. So I've been sending a lot of safety blitzes. They don't have Sebastian Harsh in the game.
no, yeah, I noticed that.
So
You must have opted out for some reason.
yeah, I've been sending a lot of blitzes just because I'm making Harris look. Speed goggles not very good. So,
Yeah,
but
I've been playing the game as well. Just learning, right? It's been a long time since we've had it back. But I mean, the offensive trio of Svoboda, Whaley, and Gillenberg is pretty nice. It's a pretty nice trio to have offensively. You could do pretty much anything you want.
yeah, even with DJ Jones, and then I've been sending Pellissier and Alex Brown across the middle like it's their job. So I
Yeah, in
think
my
there's
game,
more. Yeah.
Pellissier is like ridiculous. Like he's always wide open. I don't know how.
Yeah, it's Wyoming's got a lot of talent now. If it can come all together, I think we're only a passing game away. A lot of years under Bull, so I hope Jay Johnson doesn't go too extreme because I think it will actually hurt the team to go from a power run style, which is fine, to like, hey, we're going full spread. I don't want to see that.
No, yeah. I think it's going to be pretty balanced. It's going to be
So
pretty, if you look at his best years, it's almost like a 50-50 split between run pass.
yeah,
And I guess he talked to the media yesterday. And multiple is what he kept saying, is that he wants to be multiple, which is good, right? And that doesn't mean that you have to have this big playbook. It's just you could run your same 8 core plays, but if you run them out of different formations with different looks,
yeah,
it does
there's so much talent.
a lot of good. So we'll see. Yeah, if he can just unlock just a passing game where you can just make the passes that you should in the short and intermediate passing game, you're going to see a big step forward. And his work as an OC in the group of 5, it's been a few years since he's done it, but his work at Louisiana, most specifically for me, was outstanding. So we'll see what happens. And we'll talk about it a lot, I'm sure, on this channel as fall camp continues.
Yeah, it's 30 days. It's a late night kickoff for me, but I guess I'll have to stay up for that. This East Coast time when they have the Pac-12 after dark games. I know it's Big 12, but Pac-12 after dark is going to be a little rough, but good for the team to experience that atmosphere.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so we'll see what happens. I know media day is I think it is next week. And so my goal is to get there for that and get some
nice.
interviews and some content for the channel. So yeah, my goal is to make it to Laramie for that, and I should be able to make that happen. And then I'll try to ask some good questions of some of these players and coaches, and kind of see what inside information we can get if they're willing to talk about the offense at all, which I think they're going to keep it as under wraps as they can.
You should probably interview the positions like the defensive tackles and the offensive linemen that don't get a lot of love from the media.
No, that's a good idea. Yeah, I might talk to some of these tackles, both on defensive and offensive tackles. That's a good idea.
Because everybody's going to be hitting up the Christers and the Harrison Whaleys
Yeah.
of the room, and they deserve it. But sometimes the guys that feel left out usually are the best interviews.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good. You know, I hope more people subscribe since we're just trying to do this for the you know, for the greater goods of the kids, especially the NIL. The more exposure we can get them, you know, hopefully it helps them out
Sure.
as well. So, and a shout out to Coach Branch, the wrestling coach, for getting married over the weekend. So,
Oh, there we go. I missed that.
big shout out to him. Now he's on the recruiting trail. So,
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that he's out
yeah.
recruiting.
So now it's the 30 days of just wait. So, what's the next positions? What's the
What we have left? Yeah, we could talk about that. Maybe plan so people know.
yeah.
So last time Brad and I did quarterback, running back, fullback. So not much left. So on the offensive side of the ball, we got wide receivers and tight end. No, yeah, wide receivers and tight ends. And then on defense, D backs and linebackers.
You've been hearing a lot of Kenny Park's name already, so sounds
Yeah.
like he'll be the other starter on the other side of Davis. So
Yeah, I think I might, just thinking off the top of my head, I think I want to keep like wide receivers and DBs to as far as we can so we learn more through fall camp. So I'm guessing maybe linebackers might be next. Linebackers or tight ends.
yeah, you already
So
know
what,
what you
like,
kind of got tight end room. So
yeah, and the tight end room is pretty well set. Or you can group them like wide receivers and tight ends. We might group, but probably not. There's so many wide receivers. We probably might have to do a tight end one only. So yeah, so that's what we'll have left. If you missed the last one, you can go onto the channel there and watch the replay. I do believe it's still under the live section. I'll get it moved to the main channel too, as well as this one will get moved to the main channel at some point here in the next couple days. But otherwise, yeah, just look at the live ones and you'll see our breakdown so far. And yeah, before you know it, we'll be doing game previews and post-game shows, and I think it's going to be a real fun fall.
I believe so as well. I'm getting excited. I'll be honest, it's been a couple of years since I've been excited for Wyoming football, just because it's like, oh, here we go with the same stuff. So it is nice to hear a different voice, and the team just, it feels like there's a different atmosphere just kind of around the program right now.
Yeah, especially with the social media stuff and the hype videos that you're seeing. In a million years, you wouldn't see. I mean, they kind of did them with bowl, but what they're doing now, it really is like trying to appeal to younger kids and players, right? Because that's the lifeblood of your program. So it's good to see that the social media team is having a good time putting out some good content. We're getting to see practice videos and highlights, and yeah, I think it's good all around.
Yeah. So, well, I'm excited. I'm still giving the DL an A. I'll give the offensive line a B plus. So,
Yeah, no, I think it's all in there. So Wyoming is going to need that to be the case to have a good season, and with the experience that they have coming back, it should not be a problem. But right now, we just hope everybody gets through fall camp safe and healthy.
yeah.
So, all right. Well, there we go. There is our look at the O-line and the D-line for your 2024 Wyoming Cowboys. As we just talked about, we have a handful of positions left. So we'll try to schedule one next week. But if I'm going to the media day, we might chop up some interviews from that and listen to them and react to them there. So stay tuned. But yeah, more content coming next week for sure. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. And thank you, Shea, for jumping on again.
Not a problem. Always glad to do it.
And yeah, so we will see everybody soon. For Shea, I am Chad Smith. Thank you for watching the WyoNation Roundup.